not evidence is not required.
Just give a statement that I've earned it through
Yes.
artificial sales.
Yes. Yes. This was through a sale of an asset, or this was through a business whose income I am not disclosing, right? Or this was through these transactions which have not been disclosed in the regular books of accounts. So you just have to substantiate the matter. Supposing a government official is searched, can he say, I have been taking bribe? He is willing to pay the tax on that. But can he make that statement? Under income tax, it may be acceptable, but then he may be inviting trouble under the other acts. So if you are carrying on any illegal activity, income tax will accept it. Income tax is concerned about assessing your income, whether it will be legal or illegal. It is your income. They will tax you, but you will be inviting troubles under the... So I would not advise that you say that the manner was an illegal activity. If you say it is an illegal activity, maybe you are saved from penalty, you will have to pay 10% penalty, but you will be inviting other provisions of the laws. Yes.
Kindly wait, let me call my chartered accountant or advocate.
Yes, you can always say that I am not aware of this transaction. I'll have to consult my lawyer or I have to consult my chartered accountant, and then I will come back to you with the answer. You can always take that plea. The question could be, can you ask them to call your chartered accountant? No. No, legally, the chartered accountant or the advocate, you cannot ask them to be present there. If the department wants, they may call them. But the SSC cannot force the department to call them. That is not a right given to you. No. Legally, you do not have the power to ask the assessing officer to call your chartered accountant. But you can always say that I will have to consult my chartered accountant before making a statement. There is no?
Because there is no bar also that chartered accounts should not be there in case of survey.
See, there is no bar. At present, there is no bar. If the assessee wants to call the chartered accountant and the assessing officer has no quarrels on that, he may allow the chartered accountant to be
But
present.
it normally does not permit.
Normally they do permit. Normally they will permit, because it is the chartered accountant who can explain the circumstances to the assessee, and it is only upon the chartered accountant saying that you should surrender that the client will surrender. So in fact, the chartered accountant makes many times the task of the survey team, the search team, easier. So normally they would prefer that a chartered accountant is present.
Nowadays it is happening otherwise. They don't allow and they force them to disclose at the moment and take the checks.
See,
Forcibly and creating a terror among the associates.
see, that is what we
That
call
is
as-
happening regularly nowadays.
yes, that is happening. That is what you call as tax terrorism.
Tax terrorism, or that is also illegal. You
That
can-
is illegal, and as I told you that immediately after the survey, if the assessee has that courage enough, he should retract that statement.
Or they can detect after some time in case of the survey.
See, there is no time period which is prescribed. I do not say that you could retract it next day or 2 days after or 1 week after. I am saying at the first available opportunity,
Right.
right, within a reasonable time.
There is a search or survey taken place in my premises and nothing implementing the found. Now, can I move to the High Court? Is there any provision or any case law that this whole search was illegal or with
There are plenty of cases where searches have been held to be illegal, have been held to be invalid. See, as I told you, that the initiation of the search is upon a satisfaction recorded by a senior authority. Now, if you challenge that this search was not valid, there are no reasons, nothing has been found, then the court will ask them to produce the satisfaction note. And if they find that this satisfaction note is not proper, it was based upon gossips, it was based upon newspaper reports, then they will quash that assessment. In fact, we got one assessment, one search quashed. That was in the case of MS Associates. They were running a lottery business, right? And there was a CAG report in the case of these northeastern states, Sikkim, etc. The CAG report mentioned that this person, he was also an MP of the Congress government, that this person is in liaison with the government, local governments, and he is defrauding the local governments, paying them a very meager amount and earning huge income out of this lottery business. On the basis of that CAG report, a search was conducted at his premises. Right? A lot of incriminating documents are found. Then we challenged this in the Guwahati High Court on the ground that this search is illegal. The courts asked for the satisfaction note. In the satisfaction note, it was recorded, on the basis of the CAG report, we have come to this finding. The court said, CAG report is not your property. CAG report is the property only of the legislature. You had no business to read that report. Therefore, your search is illegal. So the entire search was quashed on that ground. So there are many cases where searches have been held to be invalid. Please sit down.
Some documents are found which contained information of, say, B. So now under the amended law, 153C can be proceeded with against C. Now the question is that in the books of accounts of the search party, number of clients, number of creditors entries are there. Can proceedings be taken under 153C in respect of all such the persons? Number one. Number two, if suppose 153C is not taken, can 148 be taken later on the basis of search?
So we have a very recent judgment of a High Court. I cannot recall the judgment, but I'll give it to you if you want, where they have said that wherever proceedings of 153C are called for, then you cannot initiate proceedings under 148. No, not initiated, no. Whether you initiate or not is a separate thing. But you could initiate under 153C. Because 153 starts with the words, notwithstanding anything contained in any other provisions of the Act, including 147 and 148. So 153C is an overriding provision. So if you have the information under 153C, you should act under 153C. You cannot act under 148 in that case. Yes. That is what I am saying, that if you take help of this judgment, I'll give it to you just now, then you will be able to save 148. This is what is happening on a daily basis. Yes, 148 is not a substitute for 153C. I think we have exceeded our time. We will close the session. Thank you, friends, very much for an interactive session. And whatever queries you have, I think we'll take up after the session. Thank you, friends.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for very detailed and elaborate presentation on survey, search and seizures. Yes, sir. Good of you. Thank you. The points raised by you, clarified by you, and on the issues raised by my participants, the discussions have been quite fruitful. I would like to just supplement two issues. One is relating to 133 capital 2A, 133A capital 2A, where by an insertion with effect from by the Finance Act 2014, with effect from 1st of October 2014, relating to tax deducted as source and collected also, because normally this has been considered a particular area of survey also, because earlier the three issues have been there, but TDS collection and deposit, etc., have been another feather in the cap of the department, whereby they wanted to take care of such type of situations, that the surveys are increasing and they are trying to collect money, practically collection of money through TDS and TCS is a very important area. One is this, and as you have very correctly mentioned, the searches under 132 are a part of it in an independent way that is different, but the surveys converting into the searches are also very rigorous. On that basis, one particular issue, as you very correctly mentioned, that the family members should also be appraised what is to be answered or not. Rather, the treatment or how the officers of the department are to be looked into and politely they are to be dealt with, that is also equally important in case of survey. Otherwise, misnomer is normally created, and that in fact is converted into 132. So unnecessarily inviting trouble by just not cooperating. Maybe the intentions are not that, but at times the department feels for that purpose, and that creates a huge difficulty, because conversion of survey conversion of survey to search is definitely a very difficult area, and thereafter it becomes a very difficult proposition for the SSC. I believe these two things are equally important. Before we request our another speaker, CA KK Chaitanya, who is already with us listening to the this particular presentation by Dr. Ravi Gupta, also because of his delayed flight from Bangalore itself, he could not join right from the beginning, but good enough, at least the airlines are competent and they are capable enough to make it possible for him to be here in time. May I request Rameshji to kindly do the presentation before he takes up, please.
Friends, C.A. KK Chaitanya is a leading advocate of Karnataka High Court. He has the distinction of being a visiting lecturer at IIM Bangalore and has contributed papers in all leading journals of ICAI and its branches. Has deposed before Justice A.P. Shah on the levy of MAT on FIIS and represent ICAI for framing guidance note on transfer pricing. May I request the House to join their hand together and welcome C.A. KK Chaitanya with a big round of applause. Now I request C.A. Rahul Rungta, please come forward and present a flower bouquet to C.A. KK Chaitanya. Thank you, Rahul. Back to Chairman.
Thank you, Ramesh. Friends, my learned speakers on the dais, Dr. Ravi Gupta and CA KK Chaitanya. This particular subject is Real Estate Transactions in Income Tax Act. Friends, we all are aware, practically if we say 1961 Income Tax Act we have been dealing with as on date, and all through we have a different categories of computation of assets, etc. And it was based on the sources of income. This real estate transaction, by the name itself, under the capital gains we have always been dealing with, but taxation under real estate has become much more wider and a very important area by itself if we consider. Why so? Because if we say industry basis, real estate is a particular type of industry. Similar are very many types of industries throughout the country, whether it is pharmaceuticals, whether it is iron and steel, whether it is chemical, whether it is, you name anything. So industry specific, there is no computation or there is no disclosure or there is no requirement that how these things are to be dealt with. Then why real estate income or real estate transactions have been considered for this purpose? If you go to the integrity of this situation, and as per my information in course of various deliberations, it has transpired that the regulators, the bureaucrats, everybody has a feeling that the highest black money generation is through the real estate, whether it is through the transactions, whether it is through the long-term, short-term capital gains, whether it is through the share capital account, whatever you call, all these are through the real estate transactions moving here and there. That has been the basic concept. So apart from the capital gain, real estate has also been considered, and more particularly after the introduction of section 43CA, which has created a hue and cry throughout the country on all matter, everybody, whoever has been concerned, it's a very difficult proposition. So why the regulators and the government came out to this particular situation with Dr. Ravi Gupta, at least I would like to vouch on this issue, sir, And maybe, as I mentioned, and you are well aware that Binod has been a colleague to me in the council also. He is one of the members in the committee. Another member, a very senior professional and a very respectable person, Mr. Memani, is also in this particular committee. Because circle rates, etc., decided by the courts, decided by the states, and based on that, this type of computation to be made and the transaction to be covered and taxes to be imposed. I think this is something unbelievable and unacceptable when we are going for the simplification. So these are certain issues. Obviously, 56(2)(7) or 50C are the regular event. Obviously, our speaker is competent enough to deal with these issues. I will come out with further issues relating to the FICCI who have submitted a report relating to this type of transaction in consultation with the CBDT also. Maybe in early part of this year itself it was there when I was in the course of some discussions also. We'll come a little later, but meanwhile, to utilize our best time with our speaker, may I request Chaitanya ji to kindly take up the please.